Mountain Man Dan. Specialize in gas digesters, herbal tea, edible and medicinal landscaping, compatible landscaping, symbiotic relationships between plants, animals, fungus, and bacteria. Information isn't worth shit if you can't relay it to people. So what we tell the kids is it's a dragon because you feed it all your food garbage and it breathes fire. That relays the information very well. It's something that people can relate to. So you are building a stomach, you're basically building a little creature in a way. It's another reason we call them dragons.
So how many little dragons are you responsible for?
I put one together by myself in Colorado. And then throughout New York I've helped with 5, 6, I don't know, because I get calls about like, hey Dan, this is doing this, this, and this. What kind of bacteria can we use to correct this? And I'll say, well, if you're working in a fish tank, you use a denitrification bacteria which converts the ammonia into nitrite and the nitrite into nitrate. So if you go to a pond or a stream or something like that and you dig down and you pull the mud out, you now have a bacteria culture from that area. So then you can put that into your system. So if you're in an area that's a much colder environment, then you're going to look for streams and ponds and things like that that are in that environment. If you're in an area where it's staying 90 degrees year round, you're going to look for bacteria from that environment. Sustaining a stable pH in an aqueous or water environment. There's no oxygen present, so it's an anaerobic respiration environment. So it's all bacteria that are found in anaerobic respiration. So something that would be in the pond mud or in the digestive system of animals. So you use, you can start it up or inoculate it with cow poop, horse, chicken, dog, pig, pond sludge. Take a little bit of each of those, you put that into a digester and let it sit for about a month to 6 months, depending on when it starts to burp up methane. And it's mainly about how warm the water heats up to. So if you start your tank off at a warmer temperature, it's probably going to start its reaction sooner. And then you unscrew the cap and you shovel out all the solid material. And then it starts breaking everything down. We recommend to chop all the particles up as much as possible because the finer the particle, the increased surface area. The increased surface area, the faster the bacteria can break it down. That's why we recommend using a garbage disposal. In Hades, I think it was, they figured out how to hook up a bicycle to a garbage disposal, so you're pedaling along on a bike, and that's how you're crushing up all your food. That way you don't have to use electricity. And I think that would be highly beneficial in this area, as I know it's been used for farming for many years. You can add it to fruit trees, you can add it to leafy greens, you can add it to flower beds. There's no waste. You don't have to cart waste out anymore. You don't have a compost heap that you would have to worry about insects and mice and mosquitoes and whatever else. So ideally it's a much cleaner method for sustainable symbiotic relationship with the world around you. There's a couple different fruit trees on the property, apple trees. I think that the affluent from the gas digester systems would do tremendously well in benefiting the soil here. The gas digester is a sealed container which has 3 tubes that run into it. One tube is your feeding tube, one tube is your gas tube, and one tube is your liquid affluent tube. So people look at all these new energy systems and they outweigh the pros and the cons and what type of material or waste is going to be produced. But with a gas digester there is no waste. You're taking all of your food waste and you're putting it into a system and you're turning it into fuel for your stove tops, for your water heaters, for your generators, and for your engines, and into liquid fertilizer. And if the tank is kept between 96 degrees and 100 degrees, which would be the temperature of the stomach inside of a person or an animal, then in 24 to 48 hours the material is converted into liquid fertilizer as well. And the liquid fertilizer we've put directly into soil and been able to bring back all the aggregates and take something that's sandy clay and give it all of the sustainable nutrients to sustain life. We've taken sand from the Hudson River and sterilized it, and then used only affluent and used the sand as a growing medium, and have been able to grow countless varieties of plants through that. So you can take soil that's been completely depleted from excessive non-sustainable farming practices and add this affluent back into it and bring it back in an organic matter rather than adding fertilizers and other soil amenities to it. they figured out these new systems where it's a hoop house over like a pond, and it's a slow system. So instead of it taking only 24 to 48 hours, it takes like 3 months, but it's through a giant hopper. And you put everything in on this side, and then it comes out as liquid fertilizer on this side. So it's for like longer decomposition periods if you don't want to chop everything up, or if you have slightly more woody-ish material, or... So there's a lot of systems, and that system is being used so that people can put it into a suitcase and fly it over to Africa, and then go out to some very rural, impoverished area and dig a big trench and put it in. So they don't need to bring a tank with them or an IBC tote if they can't get one out there.
It's a liner?
Yep, it's a liner, like a pond liner. And a black top that goes over it. Also, the tank, whatever tank you're using, can't have any sunlight that goes into it. Because if sunlight is present, then you have algae. And if algae is present, then you have oxygen. And if you have oxygen, you can't have an anaerobic respiration environment. So it's required that it's a dark environment.
So if you set one up outside and it gets cold, more than likely it's not
Well,
going
in
to
the
function
winter-
as well as something that you have inside the house where you
Yeah.
can regulate the temperature a little
If you
bit.
can regulate the temperature inside, it's going to be a more stable production of gas. In the winter, if you have a digester that's outside, it'll go into hibernation, which is also why we call them dragons. Because if it gets cold, it's going to hibernate, just like a dragon would. It's a stomach, it's a living thing. A hopper for the food. It's a self-regulating system, so every time you put something into it, something comes out of it. The effluent, or liquid fertilizer, comes out through the exhaust pipe, and put a 5-gallon bucket or whatever size bucket, or a hopper into a tank.
And is that stuff gonna stink, or how does it?
Nope, smells like soil.
It's like pretty well processed
Like
by the time it comes out.
It smells like if you picked up a handful of soil from out in the wood and smelled it. That is what it smells like. I just make tea and drive around and meet people and build digesters. And that's what I'll do until I can't. Well, I feel like we have access to so much garbage in the United States. There are these huge landfills, everybody produces so much garbage. So the use of a gas digester and a gasifier, so the gasifier can also handle different types of plastic. So wood, paper, plastic, and any type of organic material, now we have an ability to refine it on small scale and large scale as something as easy that a homeowner can do or an organization. It's $80 for an IBC tank and around $70 for PVC pipe plumbing, and it means that you no longer have to cart any of your organic waste off because the system takes meat, it takes dairy, it takes carbohydrates, it takes bread, it takes all the things that your compost heap can't take, and it turns it into liquid fertilizer, so you can now water all of you never have to buy fertilizer again, basically, and you never have to buy propane again, depending on how much food you go through and how much food waste you have. So the ability to not have to buy fertilizer for anything you're growing, and the ability not to need propane or natural gas anymore. How much do you save if you don't need to buy those two things anymore? And you don't need to cart off any of your food waste anymore. So I don't know if people up here pay for the town to come pick up garbage or not, but people in other places do. So
Yeah,
look at how much you're paying and see how much waste you're actually producing, and then take out anything that's food related, and you'll just have your recycling materials. And I know that there are companies that buy back glass and buy back plastic and buy back aluminum and metal, so you can rapidly even decrease it more and make money back. Specialized in saltwater aquariums and freshwater aquariums, brackish water aquariums and ponds for 6 years. Worked in a pet store for 5 years, worked for Bear Mountain State Park for a year, worked for Teton Park and Reservation for a year in Ossining, worked with Hudson Valley Cleanup, worked on the Appalachian Trail, backpacked on the Appalachian Trail. I've done survivalist camping, survivalist hiking, nature walks, and basic teaching to friends as we wander through the woods on what you can eat, what you can't eat, and what you should eat if you ate something you shouldn't have eaten. Yesterday on our hike we came across Queen Anne's lace, also known as wild carrot. It's a white flower with little bits of hairs on the stem. If it has the hairs on the stem, then you can eat it. If it doesn't, then it's wild hemlock and it'll kill you. It'll put you into jaundice and shut your liver down, your kidneys. We came across raspberries, which you can use the leaves for a green tea substitute, which is very high in vitamin C. See, mullein, you can use the leaf, flower, and root. The root is good for the liver and kidneys. The leaves are good for all the mucilaginous membranes in the body. And the flowers, the fresh juice, can be squeezed into an ear for an ear infection. All heal, also known as Prunella vulgaris, it grows along the trail. It has a purple flower, a dark green oval-shaped or spear-shaped leaf. It can be used for external wounds, such as breaks, sprains, bruises, any type of muscle strain. Native Americans also used it, or called it knit bone, because it was used for broken bones. Let's see, what else did we come across? Indian pipe grows through the woods. I was recommended to use it from Dandelion, which is a herbalist and naturalist in New Jersey. He said it has a nice opiate-like quality and an anti-anxiety property. Dock, which grows across the mountain, can be used. The root is often used as a detoxifier, and the leaves can actually be covered in coconut oil and rice flour and sauteed and turned into a treat for people that can't handle gluten. So you can take it and take some of the raspberries or other fruits that grow along the property, turn them into a jam, saute the leaves up, and then put the jam over the top, and it's a delicious treat for the summer. There's wild grapes growing, which aren't technically wild in New York. To my knowledge, we didn't have grapes here prior to. They were brought over for wine. So if the bases of the grapevines are cleaned out and a little bit of TLC given to them, you guys can probably make wine here. There's red clover and white clover that grows up and down the fields. The red clover is extremely good for the immune system. The white clover, I think, is the only one that the bees can actually feed from, because the flowers of the red clover are slightly too long for the bees to be able to get into and take the pollen from. And you can use those for making mead as well. Dandelion grows all through here. Dandelion root is a potent liver detoxifier. Burdock root is also a potent liver detoxifier. Dandelion leaf, the greens when they're younger, can be used in salads, and the dandelion flowers are very nice for wines and meads.